All right, good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order our Academic Achievement Committee meeting. My name is Shayla Adams Stafford. I'm the chair of this committee and the District 4 representative of the Prince George's County Board of Education. I would like to thank everyone for being here this evening. I would like to have a motion to adopt the December 13th, 2021 meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Awesome. All right, and may I have a motion to approve the November 8th, 2021 meeting minutes?
So moved.
And
Can I
second.
have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we have no registered public comment speakers this evening. And so we're going to move on to item 3.0, which are two items which will be led by the administration through two presentations. The first, 3.1, will be on literacy for English language learners. And we can move there now. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am excited. I have a lot of our staff here this evening, and just to introduce a few, just so that everyone knows, it's good you hear names. We don't know who you're engaging with in the district. So you all are very familiar with Dr. McDaniel. She's our Director of Curriculum Instruction. Then we have Dezanne Manzano Lee. She is our coordinating supervisor of specialty programs. So all of the specialty programs that I'm sure your constituents are asking you about, science and tech, aviation, tag, immersion, all of those things. She supervises all the supervisors of those programs. So then with us, we brought two of those supervisors. Teresa Jackson, who most of you are probably familiar with, she's our tag supervisor. And then Dr. Melissa Candy, you all have spoken with her as well. She's our ESOL supervisor. And coming in to assist us this evening to kind of share her lens around Charter World is our instructional director, Elizabeth Saunders. So just wanted to introduce all of them to you all so that you would know who we're going to engage with this evening. But kicking us off, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa. That is you to share your presentation and kind of walk us through a little bit with ESOL.
Good evening, everyone. Just make sure, can you see my presentation? Okay, great. So I'm excited to share with you tonight how we're going to be supporting English learners with developing their literacy. And so I will get started. Give me 1 second. To give you a little context, as of November 29th, there are currently 30,303 English learners in the district. 18,716 of those English learners are in the kindergarten through 5th grade, with 5,334 in grades 6 through 8 and 6,053 in grades 9 through 12. Our English learners come from 97 different countries and speak 101 different languages. Over the last year, the ESOL office has been working on a strategic plan. Our strategic plan began implementation this year and runs through 2026. The 4 core goals are to improve academic achievement for English learners, increase staff capacity of teachers of English learners, decrease ESOL vacancies, and increase family and community engagement. We have various strategies to meet those goals and are monitoring internally how we are meeting those goals and identifying shifts that need to be made throughout the years to meet each of those individual goals. In our office, there are various ways that we aim to meet or address literacy. And for ESOL, we focus on improving our English learners' listening, speaking, and reading and writing. First, we have been implementing the key ESOL strategies district-wide through both district and school-based professional development. These strategies include having teachers use visuals and sentence frames and having students participate in hands-on learning and rich collaborative conversations. We are also working to provide modified graphic organizers and ensuring we're providing direct vocabulary instruction for our English learners. Throughout our curriculum, we also have literacy-focused activities which specifically address those skills or domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, with the ultimate aim of improving our students' English language proficiency. We have also incorporated the language-based instructional supplement at the elementary level to help and target literacy instruction, and it's aligned with the core content. and it helps to prevent our long-term English learners or students who stay in ESOL for longer than 6 years. And we have also provided writing-focused professional development at elementary and integrated content professional development at the secondary level. When we look at our interventions and supports that are provided for students to develop their language, we provide Learning A to Z or RAS Kids at the elementary level, which provides leveled resources for teachers to use and provides students access to interactive text at their level. We also provide both Lexia English for 6th grade newcomers and beginners, as well as Rosetta Stone Foundations for newcomers and beginners in grades 7 through 12. Both programs are focused on developed students' English language proficiency. And we have also provided Brain Pop K to 12 as a supplemental resource for teachers to use with their instruction. And just last year, we've been partnering with middle school to provide Speak Agent, which is a tool that directly aligns with our curriculum and provides the academic language supports for our students. This is used by all students and was purchased in collaboration with the math department. For our targeted support, we have developed an ESOL Language Lab 1 and 2 course at high school for those students who have not yet exited ESOL. These courses target the individual students' needs to help them become fully proficient in English based on their access exam. We have also developed a newcomer academy at elementary school to provide structured direct instruction for our newcomer English learners. When we look at the assessments we are using to monitor instruction, we have quarterly speaking and writing tasks, which are administered at all levels, and they're aligned with a student's summative language assessment from WIDA, Access for English Learners. When we look at professional development, we have various professional development offerings in the district. As I shared in the earlier slide, we have provided professional development around our ESOL key strategies, both district-wide and in schools. We provide professional development for our paraprofessionals, and we also provide targeted professional development at schools based on their individual needs. With our various programs and curricula, we also provide various workshops around the different curricula and technology programs that we've purchased. And we're also providing training for our ESOL department chairpersons and new teachers, as well as targeted training at each level. This year, we have also provided training on supporting unaccompanied minors, which has been very well received. And we are providing the same training specifically for parent engagement assistance this week. And this school year, the ESOL office is currently providing direct coaching and mentoring services at 41% of all of Prince George's County Public Schools. In addition to our focused professional development, we offer 6 ESOL CPDs in the district. We have 291 participants who have completed our CPDs this summer. And this summer, we also started an ESOL CPD pathway for cohorts of staff to take all of the CPDs together with the end goal of helping them to become ESOL certified. We currently have 79 participants in 6 cohorts with the goal of the majority of them finishing this month and participating in a Praxis prep course in January to be able to take the Praxis and add the ESOL endorsement to their teaching certificate. In addition to the CPD opportunities, we also have various university partnerships to help staff either earn a certificate or a master's in teaching English learners. With our University of Maryland cohorts, we have had 76 participants complete our 4 post-baccalaureate certificate programs. We have had 10 continue on for their masters, and we currently have 23 in our 5th cohort. We are beginning an ESOL doctorate in the fall of 2022 with the goal of digging into the challenges that our multilingual learners face in the district and having the staff of the program help to develop the solutions we can implement in the district. We also have an elementary focused master's cohort with McDaniel and currently have 15 participants in that cohort. With our professional development, just from July to October, we provided 50 different opportunities and had over 2,700 participants. As you can see from our evaluations, our sessions are rated as average or above average, with more than half of our participants feeling very prepared to implement what they have learned. And so that is all that I have for you today. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them.
Okay, I'm having some technical difficulty here, so I'm joined as a participant and as a panelist. So hopefully we won't have some feedback here. I see Board Member Thomas has his hand up, so you can go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Kenny, and all of you for being here with us this evening. Um, I appreciate like the information you shared and just had some additional follow-up questions. You may or may not have the answers to all of them right now. I know that. I'm curious as to, are there any um, specific guidelines in place that we have in terms of like what class sizes should look like if there's, for example, a class that's full of English language learners? Is that differentiated in any way in terms of like how it's written both in at like the Comar level, but also then like how we operate within PGCPS?
So I can tell you at the secondary level, we have recommendations based on what course. So newcomers and beginners, we recommend them to be smaller, like max 20. But we also know with our unaccompanied minors coming, oftentimes those classes become very large before they break into additional classes. But we have worked with schools to make sure they have a plan in mind and have the ability to switch an additional class out. And then for the more intermediate and advanced, there's about 25 at the max. And I don't know if Dr. White wants to add anything.
No, I would just say, and Liz, you might have a better response than me in terms of elementary. You know, our elementary schools already have numbers for our classrooms, and then the service model looks a little different in elementary. So in elementary, the students are actually pulled out by their ESOL teachers, so they're provided a very smaller setting when they have their services. So you want them in a classroom setting because for a lot of them, especially if they're coming and they're learning the language, you want them immersed in the classroom. So their peers are the ones that help. They help each other. Some that may know the language but no English, so you have that going on. But when they get service, they're pulled out. So it's probably really small scenarios. And you know, our elementary schools are already capped at certain numbers.
Great. And so it sounds like, especially at the elementary level, pull out specific is like the main piece there. The reason I asked is I like reflect on like my time when I was in the classroom, and I'm like, I've had ESL or ELL students, and they were usually in the same class as all of my other students. And the frequency of their pullouts was inconsistent. And so I remember as a teacher feeling like I had received some of these PDs that you reference, right? And so like I had gotten to have these tools, but then when I had a class of 25 students and 5 of them are ELLs, how am I supposed to actually be able to like meaningfully implement these strategies? So that's just like why that question came to mind. It just kind of like struck a chord and like made me think of my own experience.
Yeah, one of the other things I would just add to that, because it's a good point. When I talked about the service model, you know, when we get to that middle and high school, we have for students who are starting at a certain level, we have very specific courses for them before they necessarily jump into a class with their peers. So normally the class that they're in, those students are all needing pretty much the same thing. And you can still differentiate in that model, but where their levels are, they're the same. Versus that elementary, we don't have those specific courses. That's why they're pulled out.
Understood. Okay, that makes sense. I would love to know, this might be something that you all would maybe send back to us another time, but I would just love to see like a general comparison to how we're doing in this department and how we're instructing English language learners, like as compared to other school districts that are our size, or even our like neighboring school districts here in the DMV. So I would just love to like just get an idea and compare, where are ways or levels in which we're doing better, maybe levels in which we're behind. I know that this is like a challenge for all school districts that are of our size and serving our demographic. So I'm just curious to see kind of like what that comparison would look like. So is that something you all might be able to pull and provide?
We have pulled that data, just looking at English learners. The biggest challenge I'm going to have for you right now is there isn't much data because of COVID. So I can go back and pull historical data and I can share that with Dr. White. Much of it comes from the school report card, and just shows how we've done comparatively. But I have that and can share that with Dr. White.
Got you. Okay, yeah, report card grades aren't always the best to use. So,
Yeah.
but I totally hear you. I understand where your answer comes from. So,
Yeah.
all right, well,
Yeah,
thank
and,
you. Yeah.
and when she's saying for us, for this purpose, for report cards, she's going to, I would say what that's going to take us back to like 2017, 2018, 2019 for the state's report card data, not grades, but systemic data sources. And it's something that we'll pay attention to, because we're now getting back to how we've assessed and how we've tested. Melissa, we may be able to look at the fall MCAP once that comes out in January, to just kind of see, again, everybody remember that when we look at fall MCAP data, if I was a fourth grader in the fall, I got tested on a portion of questions of what information I would learn in third grade when I was in the pandemic. So just saying for all of us to take that with caution in the wind. But we'll pay attention to that all year, and because we're going to be keeping that kind of data as well.
Definitely. Cool. Thank you. Appreciate your guys' work.
Okay. Any other questions here? All right. I had a couple of questions. So I really liked, thank you for the presentation, and I really like the use of your word multilingual. I think that, as we think about some of the assets, can you all hear me? Because my computer is freezing and I'm on two different, okay. So I love the use of the term multilingual and thinking about, that these students really are bringing assets into our schools. And for a lot of students of color, they're seen as English language learners, whereas, other multilingual asset, it's seen as an asset. And so I think highlighting that for our students and really making that approach is awesome. And I know that Dr. White and her team have done a lot on cultural responsiveness, and I really love the use of that term. So I wanted to just ask, I know I saw a lot of the professional development that you have available for educators, and I just wanted to get your sort of assessment on what professional development do you feel has been the most effective at improving English language learning student achievement?
So the area that we see the greatest struggle for our English learners would be the writing and speaking. And so what we have seen is when we focused on those two components, and that is where most of our strategies come from. We've actually seen with our streamlined approach K-12 with the strategies. Now we can't see the results because we've only done it during COVID and a little bit before. But going into classrooms, those kind of results, actually seeing the teachers. So when Mr. Thomas was speaking about what do I do when the teacher isn't there, we're really trying to make every teacher a teacher of English learners. And so making those strategies available so that they can use them. And so we're trying to make sure that our students are writing daily and that they're getting that opportunity to engage in rich collaborative conversations, which we weren't necessarily seeing when we were doing learning walks before. And so just recently when I was doing learning walks, actually seeing the teachers using it, and it was in collaboration with the content areas. So I think that, and then being able to see that in the data. We'll hopefully see that when we give access and see the results in May.
Thank you. And that kind of brings me to my concept of all teachers being English EL teachers and having those skills. I wanted to know, just in terms of what are some of your mechanisms for sort of monitoring whether or not, as teachers, these strategies within their use.
Looks like committee chair is having some connection difficulties, which she
and our teachers required to disaggregate data based on how did their EL students perform.
So I'll start with some of the answers to that. So We have a great partnership with our school side where they are planning learning walks, and we have an opportunity to go out. In addition, Dr. Canny has staff that's under her leadership that goes into schools, and they're able to go into classrooms where they're working with teachers to kind of see what they're teaching in action. One of the things that we realized that we have a benefit. So ESOL had always sat under curriculum and instruction. And some of you will remember that in the past several years, last year was the first year special education came under academics, meaning I now have both. So ESOL was a natural fit for them to work with the teachers to build out curriculum. And we're finding the benefits now that we're all together. So we're always having those conversations. In terms of data, as we get into the new assessment has changed where the data will start being reported out by subgroups. So all the dashboards that we have in the district that allow us to access our data points, we are able to see our data by not only just how an entire grade level did, but we can drill that data down to classroom teachers. We can drill that data down to our TAG students, to our ESOL students, to our special education students, to our Black students, to our white students. So we're able to really look at multiple subgroups because all of our subgroups need to perform, and it allows us to see where the gaps exist. Right, overall, you could really think if you looked at a piece of data that, wow, we're doing well, until you break apart and you disaggregate it, and then you realize like there's a huge gap between different demographics. So that's very relevant. In our school side, quarterly does data stat meetings where they're able to come together, they utilize the data, they talk about the data, they analyze it, they have to meet with their colleagues to talk through it, and they lead those sessions along with curriculum teams on what's the next level of work for individual buildings based on what they're finding in their data. Melissa, you may have something else you want to add.
I was just going to add that, like Dr. White was sharing about the school performance plans, they're using our quarterly tasks in speaking and writing, and we've done professional development with the teachers, with the administrators, and the schools are now having both classroom teachers and ESOL teachers work together to score so that they can see what the expectations are of students and how they can push them, not only in that little block of time when they're in ESOL, but in the mainstream classroom as well. And that's been really beneficial.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would just even want to know, just as you're bringing more, so let me turn this one down, sorry. As you're bringing more awareness to the need for, the focus on various subgroups, I'm wondering, what mechanism can be leveraged either by strategies is translating to their classroom practice and then is then translating to student outcomes. It's like I see all of these amazing pieces here, and I just want to see kind of like that stream, like how do we know that it's all coming together in the end? And of course we have assessments that will show us at the end of the year, but I think professional development, it would be interesting to see, oh wow, I really do lesson plan differently now that I'm through, and now that I understand how to leverage these strategies using these data cycles that Dr. White just explained to us, using data, using those practices, I understand how this translates into what I do every day. Other questions? I just have one last question about COVID, and I just want to say, what lessons do you feel your team learned in regards to literacy and English language learning students? Thinking about the COVID experience.
So I think one of the biggest lessons for our newcomers is that not only is English a new language for them, technology was a new language for them, as well as for their parents. And so for many of our newcomers, that was a great gap. But they were resilient and our students showed up. The one thing that really excited me is last year we did Zoom tutoring at middle school, and it was optional. Kids could come. We had kids that came 3 nights a week for support to do their homework, to get, help and walking through. So they learned how to navigate it. I think our English learners who were in attendance were able to access supports. I think if their teacher was just talking, they struggled. That's oftentimes why they came to Zoom. But if there were those interactive elements in the lesson, they were succeeding, just like many of their peers. And most of our teachers were doing great things to keep the students engaged. I think the other thing is that it was a challenge for our secondary students. Some of our secondary students, like we know during the school year, non-COVID, are balancing many things. But during COVID, they were balancing jobs and trying to do work and school. And so I think that was something, and just really thinking about all the things and different ways we can approach instruction for our secondary learners.
And the only thing I'll add to
Just
that is that we had just more engagement from our parents, our EL parents, just through the workshops that the ESOL office was able to provide in multiple languages, working with schools. And so we were able to really reach even more parents during COVID through the technology once everyone got used to the resources that were available.
And I was going to ask, are we still doing those Zoom tutoring sessions or those programs through the ESOL office? Those sound great.
They're getting ready to start in January, and we're ramping them up even more, where they'll have a reading, math, science, and social studies block, basically. And we're targeting the newcomer beginner students who may have the greatest gap. And so they'll get about 20 minutes of targeted instruction, and then they'll also have that opportunity. And we kept the same link, and we still have students that still sign in, even though nobody's there to provide tutoring. So the teacher hops on and says, we're starting in January. So they're ready, they're excited.
And I missed the first part of that. You said we are offering that?
Yes, starting in January.
And how many students can be a part of that?
We have space for like 90. It just depends. We have the teachers, we have the funding. We can always add additional teachers if we see lots of students showing up.
Is that something through community schools because would that be something that the community schools could support? And I see board member Murray shaking her head too.
Yeah, for
We're
this,
thinking the same thing.
we normally target, all of our ESOL students. And I think when we first started this effort, we really looked at our highly populated schools, especially at the middle school level, where we know, so you're thinking of William Word or Nicholas Orme, like schools where that it's based on the data, because she looked at the data first to assess that, and then opening it up. So I think that's why she said we kind of range, it's like an on demand. So it could be all of us today, but then the next day it's half of us and 10 more kids. So as we see that need grows beyond the 90, we actually on our side have it. If it happens to be in a community school, and we've really partnered well with Ingrid to try to flesh as many things as we can. The funding source is for this particular project is on our side. We do some other activities with Ingrid, but we're always looking for opportunities to look at our community schools, where they sit, how they can be those wraparound services. But we really wanted to really identify like where any ESOL student that could possibly, need that support, which is why we think we have that extra pot of money, so that as we see it grow, we have opportunities. One of the things I will just say about tutoring in general, like we have so many tutoring opportunities for the students in our district. Our biggest thing is, and we're promoting and we're getting it out there. We're even starting in January, we'll have a 24/7 tutoring for every student in the district, any subject area in Spanish, French, and English. But parents just have to have their students sign up. So we're spending a lot of money on tutoring services, and you'll find that sometimes in some of them it's really hard to even get students, which you would think like, oh, everybody needs extra support. But I think by the time parents get home, students get home, they're exhausted. But we're going to continue to provide as many as we can to support the students who actually really need it.
Okay, thank you so much. So if there aren't any other questions, we can go into item 3.2, which is school choice, charters, and tag.
So I brought the other side of my team to talk through that topic, and I'm going to turn it over to Dezanne Manzano-Lee. This is kind of broken up into two presentations, and Dezanne will kind of talk through our specialty programs itself, and her team, and she'll kind of, some of this actually applies to charter. Liz will come behind her talking specifically about charter, and then Liz definitely fill in the gaps around like application process, any of those things that Dezanne may not mention as it relates to tech, as it relates to charter schools.
Thank you, Dr. White. Can you all see my screen? Okay, thank you. And so good evening. Once again, I'm Dezanne Manzano-Lee, the Coordinating Supervisor for Specialty Programs. Thank you for inviting us to meet with you today. So today, we will just take a moment to review the opportunities for students through our specialty programs, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Teresa Jackson, who's going to provide an overview about our talented and gifted programs. So our specialty programs in Prince George's County today, they allow our students and their families to choose from programs that are tailored to their strengths and their interests as they prepare themselves for post-secondary opportunities. And that's whether they plan on entering the workforce directly or seek additional training or enroll in a post-secondary institution. And so our programs also provide opportunities for students at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school, to explore a wide variety of special programs in our various schools. They give our students the chance to investigate careers ranging from building trades to advanced computer science, and they focus on career exploration, subject area concentration, and college and university preparation. Explore the Possibilities is our theme for this year, and we invited our students, our families, and our communities to do just that. This year, the district held our first virtual showcase, and we offered a total of 4 sessions. We offered pre-K through 8, and we offered high school sessions. We provided both of those opportunities, an AM session as well as a PM sessions, to accommodate the varying work schedules of our families. Currently, our high school applications, actually that closed last Friday for a number of our programs. Our lottery programs will close, the application will close on January 28th. And then you'll see our tag lottery window will open on January 12th and run through March 23rd. And Teresa can give you more information about that. I'll go back for a moment to our high school applications. We made the decision to extend the deadline to January 7th for a few of our high school programs. And those programs include our International Baccalaureate program, or IB, our Career and Technology Education programs, our P-TECH programs, and our 3D Scholars programs. And those are the programs that do not require a PSAT score for admittance into them. Again, our theme for this year was Explore the Possibilities, and we marketed the information about our programs in a number of ways. What you see on the screen before you is the cover of a postcard that was mailed to every 8th grade student, every 8th grade family. We also developed and provided to every middle school a back to school presentation. Again, we held our specialty program virtual showcases. We met with all with our professional school counselors at the middle school level, and we provided updates via our PGC website and our social media platforms. Another way that we advertised our programs was through the development of a video. This video was made available to our community in English, Spanish, and French. Do we have time to show the video, or would you guys like to watch it at your own time?
I think we can watch it on our own time.
Okay, it's very short, no problem. And so we continue to promote the opportunities for our programs through our partnership with the Office of Interpreting and Translation, with the Department of Communications, and with a number of other departments throughout Prince George's County Public Schools. Sorry. Our enrollment in our specialty programs is on the screen. Looking at our K-8, our creative and performing arts opportunities are located at 3 sites, and there's the total number of 1,383 students. Our immersion programs are at 9 sites throughout the district with a little bit over 2,700 students. Our talented and gifted students are throughout the county with a little bit over 2,400 students. At the high school level, we have our aerospace and aviation engineering program at Duval High School, our immersion program at Central High School, P-Tech Health and P-Tech Hospitality are both at Frederick Douglass High School. Our science and tech programs are at Charles Flowers, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Oxon Hill High Schools for a little over 2,000 students. And our visual and performing arts are currently have a combined enrollment of 545 students. At this time, I'll turn it over to you, Teresa, to talk to us a little bit about talented and gifted. I think you're on mute, Teresa.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Teresa Jackson. I'm the supervisor of talented and gifted programs, as well as Junior Achievement Finance Park. And tonight's presentation is a brief overview of the TAG program. The first slide is the COMAR definition for gifted and talented students. So it's important to note that TAG students mean elementary and secondary students who are identified by professionally qualified individuals as having outstanding talent and performing or showing the potential for performing at remarkably high levels of accomplishment when compared with other students of similar age, experience, and environment. Also, students exhibiting high performance capability in intellectual, creative, or artistic areas, possessing an unusual leadership capacity, or excelling in specific academic fields. In Prince George's County Public Schools, our gifted and talented program focuses on the general intellectual ability, although we do include creative and artistic, as well as leadership in the screening process.
Teresa, I'm sorry, one moment. My device also froze in sharing my screen.
Okay. So this slide shows our TAG participation data as of September 2021. We are in the process of doing universal testing and screening and identification for this year. So these numbers have not changed much since September. So what you see here is our total enrollment in grades 2 through 12. We start our universal testing in grade 1, and we start our services in grade 2. And they continue through grade 12. So you'll see we have a little over 10,000 students currently. COVID created a little bit of a disruption with screening and identification last year. So normally that number would be just a little bit higher, but we are mitigating that this year, and we'll see increases. Every year we break down our TAG enrollment data by race and ethnicity and other subgroups, just to see if we have, if we're inclusive of all the special populations, as well as showing equitable representation. So you'll see the breakdowns there. I'll be honest, the 2 areas that we are focused on seeing increases in are our gifted students from Hispanic backgrounds, as well as our gifted students on free and reduced lunch, which are not on this chart, because as of September 21, we didn't have all the applications in. Historically, pre-COVID, about 42% of our gifted student population was on free and reduced lunch, but we still need to improve that number. So if you'll go back, I'm not quite ready for that. A couple other things I just want to point out on this. Nationally, you will see that gifted students that are culturally diverse are underrepresented. I just want to point out that in Prince George's County, our African American and Black student population is at 63%, which has consistently been in the 60s to low 70s% in the last 15 years that I've been tracking data. So I'm proud of that number because we are not underrepresenting them. We are inclusive and equitably representing our students. Twice exceptional, we have a long history of identifying gifted students with special learning needs, whether they have an IEP or a 504. They are a hard group of students to identify because it's up to parents and teachers to bring them to our attention beyond our universal testing years. And so that really requires a lot of professional development and just awareness. But those numbers really reflect that very well. And our gifted English learners, and that term, gifted English learners, we're starting to hear the term multilingual gifted students. And I know Melissa mentioned that earlier. We include our gifted learners who are actively in ESOL services, as well as those who have exited ESOL services. So 14% is a good representation, but we are always looking to ensure that we capture any of our gifted English learners. Now I'm ready for the next slide. So I was asked to focus on how our gifted programs focus on literacy. So in our elementary level, we have 3 delivery models for gifted services. We have the TAG Center program, which is the full day gifted program, which is the specialty program. And then our neighborhood schools either implement a TAG pullout program or TAG in the regular classroom program. But what all of those programs have in common are these key gifted strategies: the use of curriculum compacting, which is pre-assessing students to find out what they know in order to teach them what they don't know. Teachers will pre-assess, diagnose, and then base instructional decisions on their grouping to teach the students what they need. And so they can move on to either an independent assignment or to the next level or the next unit. We focus a lot on shared inquiry questioning across all programs, higher order questionings using Kaplan's depth and complexity model and Paul's reasoning model. We focus on using above grade level reading materials for those advanced readers who need something more challenging. Across all of the programs, we focus on research opportunities, student choice, and the creation of original products. All of these strategies are research-based gifted education best practices, and we provide professional development and help teachers incorporate them into their planning of their lessons for their gifted learners. The literacy focus activities throughout the curriculum. I mentioned the creation of original products to demonstrate their advanced listening, speaking, and writing skills. We aim to accelerate our TAG students' reading and speaking, writing, and listening skills. We expect them to continue to learn and grow every day and make at least a year's growth in a year's time. So regardless of their starting point, we expect them to end at a more advanced level. So it's really critical that the teachers provide the acceleration and the differentiation in order to ensure that that happens. Higher order thinking and critical thinking is a focus across elementary and middle school. We partner with our content area supervisors and embed these strategies within the general curriculum so that there's access across all the contents. The next slide. So as I mentioned before, here are the accelerated curriculum components. The curriculum compacting is one form of acceleration. We provide cluster and multi-age grouping so the students are with their intellectual peer groups. The curriculums are interdisciplinary, concept-based for our pull-out curriculum. We incorporate some supplemental curriculum that was developed by the College of William and Mary. We use the Jacobs Ladder program in our TRC program. and the College of William and Mary Language Arts curriculum for high ability learners in our full day TAG Center program. Kaplan's depth and complexity model can be applied to any content area, and we use it across all grade levels and all contents, as well as Paul's reasoning model, which is teaching students how to think critically and to question what they read, what they listen to. We use junior grade book share inquiry, which is really a higher level thinking curriculum more than a reading curriculum. But it's embedded in really rich literature. The assessments that we use for identification and screening, we use cognitive ability assessments. But for day-to-day instruction, we use pre-assessments to determine what the students already know. Some of those pre-assessments are already built into the regular curriculum, and the teachers are taught how to disaggregate that data and plan instruction accordingly. And we use the iReady diagnostic that's administered through the reading department 3 times a year. We also look at that to ensure that our advanced readers continue to make growth. It has a decent high ceiling, so it's an effective tool for making sure that they're making constant growth. Professional development. The TAG office has provided a variety of professional development over the years. Most educators come into the profession without ever having any coursework, much less a certificate or a degree in gifted education. So the COMAR regulations state that teachers of gifted students should have training in gifted best practices. So our office, the TAG office, provides a variety of opportunities for professional development. We start with the TAG coordinator training because coordinators need to understand the characteristics of gifted learners and what the testing and screening process is like, how to handle questions from the parents and the community. So that's typically how we kick off the year. Then we start our TAG Center coordinators also are trained. Being a specialty program, there are some unique features and information around the lottery process and how that works. That's critical for their roles. Then we move into training regarding all those gifted best practices. So we offer TAG 101 training. We do it in part 1 and part 2. We provide workshops in questioning strategies, which is really well received. Our pull-out curriculums are unique curriculums. So we provide training annually as we get new teachers who are implementing the curriculum that need to be trained. We are participating in a Javits talent development project. It's a 5-year project with MSDE that we received $50,000 to help to develop the capacity of our teachers in 11 Title I schools to better understand giftedness, to recognize how to do talent spotting and how to modify their instruction in order to develop the talents of all of their students. So we're in year 3. Obviously, COVID kind of interrupted that project a little bit, but we're moving forward, and the schools are still participating and have received their professional development. We're still excited about the progress that we'll see there. The goal of that project is to increase identification of students who are on free and reduced meals, as well as Hispanic students for participation in the gifted program. Independent studies across all of our programs, the importance for the students to explore areas of interest and do in-depth research. At the middle school level, that's actually a passion project that they complete. We collaborate with the middle school reading department and offer workshops to honors teachers in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then we provide a specific training on the Jacob's Ladder and the William and Mary Language Arts curriculum for the teachers who implement that. And Prince George's County has many schools. I think we've had 33 schools apply for the eGate, which is Excellence in Gifted and Talented Education Award that MSDE gives to schools who voluntarily apply for that designation. This year, we had 5 schools apply. We're waiting for the results. Sometimes it takes a 2-year application process. Sometimes it takes a 1 year. So we provide trainings in all of the COMAR regulations, and schools have to demonstrate that they meet 18 out of the 21 objectives in order to receive that E-Gate designation. And I believe Prince George's County has more E-Gate schools than any other school district. So any questions for myself or DeSanne?
Thank you so much for that presentation, and hopefully my computer won't freeze up. But I wanted to see if my colleagues.
Yeah, I think she was asking if any of us had questions, so I'll go ahead and start off. Thanks again for that detailed presentation. I want to know, like, I wanted to, my question is there an opportunity or appetite from your department for growth of like the amount of programs that we have, the amount of seats that we're able to, offer? Is there an appetite or opportunity from that, from your perspective? I think generally speaking, from like parents that I talk to and from what I hear, there does seem to be some kind of a desire or appetite for more. I'm just curious though, from your office and the work that you all do you see that as an opportunity?
Teresa, where you want to respond to that?
Well, from a tag perspective, we don't have a limit on our the number of students that meet the criteria for gifted. So with regards to the tag center program, right now we are not even filled to capacity because of COVID. In the past, yes, there was a huge appetite, and the district in the past 15 years, we have opened up from 2 middle school sites to 5. At the elementary site, we went from, I believe, 11 classrooms per grade level, and we're up to 15 right now. And I think for tag, we're kind of at the sweet spot. If we had long waiting lists, I would be the first advocate to work internally to say, hey, Dr. White, we need more seats. Right now, I think we're pretty stable. I can't speak to the other programs though.
Thanks, Ms. Jackson. Yeah, is anyone able to speak to specialty programs in general?
To just opening different opportunities?
Yeah, just like, is there not saying adding new ones, but perhaps increasing the amount of options that people have to participate in the existing ones?
Yeah, so even you heard at the beginning, Ms. Manzano-Lee discussed that they're like mini programs that we had. So our real window to close them was December the 10th, and we've had to extend it because right now we don't even have parents signing up. And one of the things that we identified over time is that we went to this equity model with like our science and tech and aviation. And when we did that, one of the things that we did with all of our programs is once parents sign up, you could have a student that gets into every single program. But what parents were doing in the past is, I'm going to say yes to you. 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 Then when you flesh it out, now we had holes and pockets in programs. So now what we do is, once we let you know your child has gotten in here, all the schools they've, have an opportunity to participate programs, we set the same commit date for every single program. So you can only commit to one. You got to go to that school. You have a certain window of time to take your registration papers and that. But right now, and we believe it's a cause of the pandemic. You heard her say, this is the first year we've ever done postcards. Like, we've done virtual. We could have had 1,000 parents sign up saying, I'm coming to the virtual specialty programs. And then the night of the specialty programs on Zoom, you have 150 parents. So we've tried every avenue through social media to really let parents know in the community that these opportunities are open. And so I think about 6 of the programs she listed, we have to open them back up. So I think we've really got to wait until we come through the pandemic to see, when all of our kids, when things flush back out, to see all of our programs fill back up, where we can add seats. We know that in our high schools where we currently have our science and tech and our aviation, it's a capacity issue versus seats. You know, I do think that over time, as we look at when new schools are being built, is to really look at how we can leverage those new schools, and if there are programs that can go into those schools as we expand out. So my hope is that we'll see a little bit more movement, see where we flesh out. I think for any parent listening, we've extended until when we come back from winter break. So I think it's the first week of January.
January 7th.
The reason we had to do that is because you heard her also say that some of our programs are based on PSAT. Our students are engaging in PSAT this week. That's every 8th grader in our district. Every 8th grader in our district will automatically go in the pool for science and tech and aviation. The other programs, you don't even need PSAT. If you have interest for IB, if you have interest for, PTech, the students graduate with an associate's degree. Academy of Health Science, they use the PSAT. Then we have our career and technical education, which we talked a lot about having our kids have access to come. For parents, it's not an and or, it's a both, right? You could really come learn computer science, get a certification, still go to college. So we're just trying to figure out every single possibility we can to let our parents know. We have so many options in our district. And I think that after we get to this year, we go into next year, our application window, it will allow us to say to Dr. Golson, here's 3 programs that are continuously either under enrolled. And what does that mean for our district, right? Because some of our schools or some of our programs are very expensive. So if we have to see a pattern where we don't have kids coming in, we need to assess that as well. But here are some that are doing really well. And let's overlay that where we have new schools coming on board so that we know we can have the space to expand if necessary.
Thank you. That answers my questions.
And so,
sorry.
go ahead.
Sorry. So I'll go next year. I've gotten a lot of, just in thinking about that last point that you made in regards to sort of expanding programs to as new schools are developed. In my district, I've gotten a lot of messages from parents and students wondering how we can leverage the underutilized schools that are within our vicinity to possibly house specialty programs as like Charles Herbert Flowers, they're experiencing significant overcrowding. And I was just wondering if that was something that maybe you could shed some light on, if there are some discussions around that. And then I had a few other questions as well.
What I would say about over or undercrowded is that right now, and you all know this, we're in a boundary process. And so I would think that the boundary process itself would have to go through to see what those numbers are, what you all land on. So I can't speak to that, nor would I in the middle of boundaries. I think when we come through that process and whatever scenario we end on, it's definitely an opportunity to look at schools and to see where we are and see how we can help. A lot of that is when programs were in certain buildings, they may not have been overcrowded. And then as communities have come, we see buildings all over. And I look some areas that I live in Bowie and I'm like, what school are they going to go to? Right? Those houses are going to have children. Where are they going to go to school? And I think we've all seen that around the county. It's like the more we build houses and communities, right? Like where are the children going to go? So I think you got to get through boundaries because when these programs are there, we're never going to put a program in a building that's automatically overcrowded. I think over time we've put a building there, the building was fine. And that's why you'll see if she says between the 2 creative and performing arts, there's 545 students, we can't expand their program because the comprehensive students coming into that building have expanded based on things happening in that community. So I definitely think that once we get through the boundaries, we have an opportunity to really look now where we're flushed and what schools have what space. It definitely warrants a great conversation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again for this presentation. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. So okay, did that cut out?
Yeah, Madam Chair cut out, so we didn't hear any of your question. If you want to say it again.
I said, is there tag availability in each school? Or are students only going to the 11 tag centers to receive
Oh,
the tag
no,
program?
we have gifted students in every school, all 209 plus buildings. So we have gifted kids that are being served at the elementary level. Every elementary school, or K-8, any school with grades 2 through 5 or 2 through 6, have gifted students, and they're providing services to gifted students. Once the students are identified for services, their parents can choose to have them stay where they are. That could be their neighborhood school, that could be a French immersion school, a CPA school, or they can apply to the lottery to get into the TAG Center, which is a full day gifted program. There is no maximum enrollment for neighborhood identification. The only maximum seats would be in the specialty TAG centers, the 7 elementaries and the 5 middles. And right now, this year, as well as last year, and I think it's fair to say it's probably related to the pandemic, we have vacant seats, particularly at 2nd grade, which is where the program starts. The program is designed to be a 2 through 8 program. So once the seats are filled in 2nd and 3rd grade, ideally they would be full through 8th grade. And then the students select whichever advanced high school program they'd like to go to. But obviously students move and parents make decisions. So we often have seats available in the upper grades, typically fewer. So that's why we open up the lottery, and backfill is the terminology that people accounting uses when they do that. But no, every single school has gifted learners and are receiving gifted services.
So let me just ask, in terms of the availability to the wider population, all of the strategies that you mentioned, the higher order questioning, the Kaplans, the depth of knowledge work, the independent quest projects, those are all, we know that all students can benefit from that. And so are there ever opportunities for sort of like cross-population of professional development? I know you mentioned that the instructional directors are encouraged to incorporate those strategies, generally, but are there ever, like, let's say, targeted opportunities for, let's say, a school that is, maybe really struggling with engagement and literacy with students, to maybe do like some instructional rounds or work at a tag center to get some of that inspiration or training in that way, to sort of provide some of those innovative strategies to students or students and teachers that may not have access to that daily?
So some of those gifted best practices are present in a general curriculum, reading, in the honors curriculum. So they're accessible to all teachers. The TAG office worked collaboratively with some TAG teachers and some science teachers, and built in gifted extensions that is 100% accessible to any science teacher who would like to use those lessons to modify. We're working with the math department on a similar document with advanced extensions. So, and we're finishing up some of our elementary reading documents after they adopted some new series. So even though we focus, the TAG office, really, those gifted best practices are essential for their learning. They're not limited to only the gifted students. We also know that in our cluster programs, our cluster teachers might be teaching 8 children in their classroom, but there's 30 in their classroom. So they're not just limiting those best practices to the 8 identified students. They're using them for any student that needs them. When we open up trainings, we provide trainings to anyone who registers that's interested. So oftentimes it's the teachers who are working directly with gifted learners, but when we have teachers who want training in gifted ed and we have space availability in our training, by all means, we do include them. So I don't know if that fully
That's
answered your
helpful. That's
question.
Yeah,
definitely
I would
helpful.
also add to that for the last 3 years, it could be 4 years, we've offered a literacy institute in the summer. We've had thousands of teachers, middle and high school teachers come, and there's a partnership between the tag office, the content offices. Teachers come, they learn all the different strategies, both tag and comprehensive, and our comprehensive supervisors, our supervisors of content, all of them have segments in their curriculum that extend. You know, when we're talking about children in a classroom, you could have a classroom that has a range of needs. And so you build a comprehensive curriculum, you build it so it goes down and you build it so it goes up. So Teresa's always great to partner with because we want those teachers to know not only, you know, how do you work with the students in your class who need ESOL services or special education, but you also have tag identified and highly capable students who are not tag identified that they still have to figure out how to teach. I think board member Thomas said it best. You get kids in your class and you're like, oh, I got training. It's like, you hit the ground. It's like, okay, what do we do? So all of our curriculums have that extension. So we constantly partner with her, but all of our professional developments are open to all of our teachers. We don't say, nope, you don't teach that. You can't come. We make sure that they're open. In the summer, the Institute is great. It's like a 3-day, 4-day institute, and they can come and participate.
Thank you. I just had one just quick to get into charters, but the question I had was in regards to for our multilingual learners, are the diagnostic or qualifying assessments for tag in their home language?
No, we give the cognitive ability assessment. This year, we're giving it to all first, all second, and all fourth graders. And just through the traditional universal testing and screening process, we capture some of those students. But then we take a deeper look. We start to disaggregate the verbal, nonverbal, quantitative, and start looking for discrepancies. And when we see high nonverbal scores, that's often a flag that we should take a deeper look. And then from there, we can take a look at any of their WIDA assessment data. And then from there, we also look at their entrance date from when they first came into the United States and started receiving education in English. And we look at their exit date if they've exited ESOL. So oftentimes they're in and out of ESOL really quickly because they're really a high flyer. So we do something very similar to that with our twice exceptional learners. So once we do the general universal screening, we start to look at layers of data to start to look for patterns. And then we have to go and have conversations either with a psychologist or with someone in the special ed department or someone at the school level to do follow-up regarding do we just watch the student for a little while? Do we go ahead and do the complete screening process? We don't test in their heritage language, though.
Okay, that's helpful to understand. Thank you so much. I appreciate this presentation, and I know we have one more before we wrap up.
Okay, thank you.
Liz, are you able to share? Awesome.
Yes, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Just one moment. So good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Saunders. I'm going to talk to you this evening about public charter schools. Just wanted to take a moment, our Board of Education members, just to thank you for your service. I'm going to start with the definition of a charter school, and Maryland's law defines a public charter school as a public school that's non-sectarian, is chosen by parents for their children, and is open to all students on a space available basis. A public charter school can be either a newly created school or a conversion of an already operating public school. A public charter school operates with the approval of a local board of education in accordance with a written charter agreement executed between the local board of education and the administrative entity operating the public charter school. Just as any other public school, a public charter school is subject to federal, state, and local laws prohibiting discrimination and must comply with all applicable health and safety laws. So there are some key features of Maryland state charter law. The law was established in 2003. It was revised in 2019. Maryland law only allows one authorizer, and that's the local board of education. Maryland public charter schools must be tuition free. And there are some examples of autonomies in curriculum and in location, etc. Charter operators must apply for a waiver only during the initial or renewal application time and be approved if they are not following our administrative procedures or COMAR regulations. Right now, there are no waivers with our charter schools. All of our charter schools operate under our administrative procedures in Prince George's County Public Schools at this moment in time. So I wanted to go through some information around our public charter schools, and I've divided them up so you can actually see the name of the public charter school. You can see the grade level span, the city in Prince George's County the charter school is located in, the enrollment as of September 30th, 2021, and some of the signature programs. The first three schools are CMIT North. They have a K through 12 span. They're operated by Chesapeake Lighthouse Foundation. They're all located in Laurel, and they're really literally like right almost next door to each other. They're just right up the block, each one. And you can see the enrollment. We have 606 at the elementary school, 499 at the middle school, and 585 at the high school, for a total of 1,690 students. And the other two Chesapeake Lighthouse Foundation operated schools are CMIT South Elementary and CMIT South Middle High School. These schools are both actually in the same kind of area in Upper Marlboro, the same, I would call it like an industrial park area in Upper Marlboro. We have 565 students at the elementary and 832 at the middle high school. And the middle high school contains our 6th through 12th graders in the same building, and there's 1,397 students. And they have the signature programs of robotics, they have a Lego lab, they have advanced instructional technology certifications, and an early college program, the associate degree in instructional technology. So this encompasses our schools that are operated by Chesapeake Lighthouse. The next school is College Park Academy. This is a 6th through 12 school. It's a middle high school. It's located in College Park, Maryland. It has 677 students. It is a partnership with the University of Maryland, and their signature program is blended learning. Excel Academy is located in Landover. It's a K through 8. And their signature program is they are currently an International Baccalaureate candidate school. Then we go into our schools that are operated by Imagine Schools. I just want to go back to College Park Academy. College Park Academy is operated by College Park Academy, and Excel Academy is operated by Seed, Inc. Imagine, the next 4 schools are our Imagine schools that are operated by Imagine Schools. We have Imagine Andrews and Imagine Leland on this slide. They're K through 8. Imagine Andrews is located on Andrews Air Force Base in Camp Springs. It has 409 students and serves the unique needs of military families. And Imagine Leland is a K through 8 that's located in Upper Marlboro with 479 students. And one of their signature programs is AVID. The next two schools are also operated by Imagine Schools. Imagine Lincoln, which is located in Temple Hills. It has an enrollment of 368 students. Signature program is a house system, and that's a system where students are divided into houses for discipline and incentives, character, and those types of programs. Imagine Morningside, their signature program is Micro Society. They have 389 students. The next school is our newest charter school, and that is Legends. And Legends is operated by Equity Now, Inc. It's a K-8. It's located in Lanham, has 692 students as of September 30th, and financial literacy is its signature program. So this slide is just showing a stool, and basically it's just to talk for a minute about the link to quality charter schools and the relationship between the authorizer, which is composed of Prince George's County Public Charter School Office, the Chief of School Support and Leadership, the Chief Executive Officer, and our PGCPS Board of Education, and the operator is critical. The authorizer is a partner to our schools, but not the lead. The relationship must be positive, communicative, with a willingness for the operator to accept responsibility, accountability, critical feedback, and intervention from the authorizer when necessary. And this is just kind of showing that if one of these legs is fractured or cracked, it's really the students and families that topple. And so it's really important that we maintain open communication with our operators and our school leaders. Problems. And this slide is just showing the authorizing cycle. And the authorizing cycle begins with the application process. And so when a group of individuals think about, hey, maybe we would like to open up a charter school, they do what we call a letter of intent. And once they declare their intent to open up a charter school, we make sure that they have certain things like they're registered as a nonprofit. They then receive and are asked to fill out what we call a prospectus, which is kind of like your ideas around what this school could be. What is your philosophy? What are you thinking about curriculum? And then we take that prospectus and we look at it very, very carefully. And we look at it with a wide variety of stakeholders throughout the system. So for example, if someone was talking about they wanted to open up a charter school that was going to focus on science, we would make sure that we tap into Dr. White. Dr. White, can you look at this? Can you also advise some people from the curriculum and instruction department to also look at it with that lens and that expertise? And we do that every time we get a letter of intent and that group passes to the level that they can fill out a prospectus. Then we give them their response. After they get their response, they are either invited to fill out the full application, or they are told that at this time, the criteria for a charter school, your group is not quite meeting that criteria. Then after that, the application process is very, very rigorous, and groups that have opened up charter schools in Prince George's County will tell you that it's a lengthy process. We also pull those groups in for an interview, and any gaps or any further questions that we see from their application, we ask, we get a very concrete answer before making a recommendation to Dr. Goldson around that application. Once the school is approved to actually open and all of that work has been done, onboarding begins, and there's lots of meetings, there's lots of information. All of our departments are involved in onboarding. Opening up a new school is an extremely, extremely time-consuming, rigorous process because we want the best. And it's very, very important that our operators understand that they're here to service the children of Prince George's County. So there's lots of pre-opening activities that take place. and lots of frequent communication. And then once the school is open, we get into monitoring and oversight. And if there are things that we see that the schools are not compliant in, there's intervention, and there are things that we ask for them to do. And then we get into the renewal process. And that's when they declare their intent to renew. And when a school is first open, they're automatically granted a 5-year operating agreement, because you certainly couldn't open up a school and then go into the renewal portion. So what we do is we give them those 5 years to actually establish their school, get going, get started, and then they would declare a letter of intent to renew, and then the renewal application is given to them to fill out. It is also evaluated, and then we make a recommendation around that renewal. That recommendation then goes to Dr. Goldson. She looks at it, and then she makes her recommendation to the Board of Education. And that's pretty much the authorizing cycle. Renewal, though, the whole process actually starts at the approval of the charter school being able to open, because it's from that moment that you're actually beginning all of that monitoring and support to hope that the school is extremely successful in meeting the needs of the families of Prince George's County. The public charter school office is made up of myself. I'm the instructional director, so I also serve as supervisor of our charter school principals, as well as the lead in the charter school office, and Loretta White, who is the charter school liaison, who takes the lead on all of the matters around authorizing. We work in conjunction with one another, and we definitely are here to service the families of Prince George's County charter school students, as well as the students and staff. So at this time, if you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Okay, yes, thank you so much for that presentation. Colleagues, do you all have any questions? Okay, I had a couple of questions. So you discussed for each of the charters, the unique models for each school. And so my questioning is around, sort of the monitoring and accountability for each school, given their unique model. Are they given the opportunity to opt out of APs that don't fit or would hinder their model, or are they held to the same, each of them with their different model held to the same sort of monitoring rubric?
So for an administrative procedure, a charter school can definitely opt out. They have to apply for a waiver. So it's not an automatic, hey, I'm going to opt out, I don't want to do this, but we take them through what we call the waiver application or the waiver process. And what we ask is, for example, I'll give you an example. If a charter school would like to open and says, I want to do a completely different calendar, and we have not opened yet, what we may ask them a lot of questions around is, okay, so what kind of buy-in do you have from staff? What kind of buy-in do you have from your community before you're asking for this waiver? Because that can be rather difficult to bring people on. And then they say, oh, I had no idea that your school was going to be open on Saturdays, or you weren't having this. So what we try to get them to think about is get some buy-in for the types of things that you're trying to do before you jump in and do them. And so we ask that the waivers are at the initial process, if that's something that they really want to push for, or we ask for that they do the waiver during the renewal application process.
Okay, that's helpful information to know. Additionally, in thinking about the applications for becoming a charter, so is there like a report or an annual report that talks about like the performance and accountability of all of the charters annually that would sort of aggregate all of that information at once? Because I think that would be helpful. I don't know about other board members, but just to see how do all of the charters perform. But then also the letters of interest that come in, is there information about that as well?
So those, okay, so the letters of interest that come in like from different community groups are capped on a grid, like a spreadsheet. So we do keep careful track of groups that are asking around, and some people ask, but they never follow through. So they're asking a few questions, but we even keep track of that. We keep track of all of that. The other piece that you asked about was, so the site visit does serve as a report that tells you about the progress of the school. And so right now, one of the things, and I think all of us are having this difficulty when we're looking at the data, it's hard to have great trend data at this point because our charter schools actually can opt out of some of our local assessments. They are mandated to take any Maryland state assessment though, and that would be MCAP, that would be KRA, anything that's a state assessment. So right now we don't have as much updated trend data as we would like, just due to the impacts of COVID. I also just did want to add one of the things that you asked about too, that's important to just remind everyone. So our teachers in charter schools, they're Prince George's County Public School teachers. They're in a part of the bargaining units that all Prince George's County Public School teachers are in. And so our principals are Prince George's County Public School employees. And so I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out.
Mhm.
And everything is on a timeline regarding our application process.
Were there any other questions?
Board Member Adam Stafford, one of the other things I just wanted to point out in terms of specialty programs, we have so many more options now than we've ever had before, especially with dual enrollment and students being able to take dual enrollment courses and or AP also. So sometimes you could look at a program and say, oh, kids aren't here, but you can look at, we have dual in the school, or just students that are able to take courses. And now that, like Prince George's Community College, because of the pandemic, we talk about those things that have lasted. Now some of those classes are online. So it's so many more options that are out there that never existed before. So I just wanted to have the committee to note that.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you so much, Dr. White. I definitely learned a lot from this meeting. I know my colleagues certainly did as well. And I just wanted to thank you all also for all of your presentations and answering all of our questions. And if we do have some follow-ups, we'll be sure to share those with Dr. White. So I wanted to thank everyone for this great meeting and see if I could get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. May I have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, and everyone have a great holiday season.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. White. Thank you,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
so much. Bye-bye.